I'm Rebecca Miles reporting.
The number of mentally disabled people in prisons is on the rise, even though the crime rate is going down. Today, the group Rights for Imprisoned People with Psychiatric Disabilities asked Mayor Bloomberg to consider the needs of the mentally ill when he chooses the next Commissioner of Corrections. WBAI's Christine Black has the story.
About a dozen former inmates and family of inmates gathered on the steps of City Hall today. Now that the Commissioner of Corrections, Martin Horn, announced his resignation June 3rd, they see an opportunity for the agency he ran since 2003 to go in a new direction.
This is really an opportunity for the City of New York to make progressive change to really end the criminalization of mental illness and to end the suffering and the abuse that happens in the New York City Correction Department.
That's Mary Doherty from Rights for Imprisoned People with Psychiatric Disabilities, or RIPPD. She says New York's prison system abuses people with mental illness. They are also concerned about two proposed expansions of prison facilities in Brooklyn and the Bronx.
So we're here today to say, less money in the criminal justice system and more money into the mental health in our community.
Elie Gitter is a member of RIPPD and a family member of someone with mental illness in jail.
Martin Horn has been a thorn in our side because he does not grasp what is going on in there, and he's in denial of the horrors that go on in Rikers. So anytime you meet with him, all he does is deny, deny, deny. He wants to expand the jail. He wants to keep people with mental illness in there.
She says at least 4,000 people with mental illness are in Rikers Island prison on any given day. And what happens to them?
They get worse. They get sicker and sicker. They get abused. I don't think I've heard one story where people have come out and said, I gained something from being in jail and I got treatment. Even if they were in treatment, it's not the treatment that helps people when they get out to carry on their lives.
Hector Roman spent 12 years in prison for an 8-year sentence. He says he has seizures and anxiety from being hit in the head, and with that he takes off his hat and shows me the dent in the back of his skull. He says people with mental illness have a more difficult time in jail because they don't always understand what the guards and other prisoners expect of them.
You don't got no help in there. Get 3 square meals and that's it. You got nobody to talk to. You don't have nobody to explain stuff to you. You sit down, like hold your hand, nothing. They just put you in there and you go about your own rules. If you don't know how to live in jail, then you got your own problem. You always wind up like a knucklehead. You wind up in the box.
The box, also known as SHU, solitary housing units, or solitary confinement, is particularly harmful for people with mental illness. It's confinement for 23 hours a day, where meals are given through a slot, and all privileges such as calls to family are taken away.
So you're being punished to a degree that would harm any individual, and if you have a mental illness, then you really get changed. It internally changes. My godson said he'll never be the same, and he has been in SHU.
We got a bill passed in 2007 called the SHU bill, and it requires that people with serious persistent mental illness be diverted from solitary confinement, but that is not fully implemented yet. And so, you come across people who are still languishing in there without any services. And it's just a very punitive environment for people who are sick and need treatment.
Again, Elie Gitter.
You cannot get treatment in prison. It's a stressful, violent environment, and I don't care what anybody says, it's an impossible situation. We need leadership who will realize that prisons are not the answer for people who have physical illnesses, mental illnesses, drug illnesses. We need leadership who will step up and speak to the community and be chosen almost by the community so we could get rid of this horrible prison industrial complex that New York is leading in the country.
RIPPD wants Mayor Bloomberg to consult the mental health community before picking his next Commissioner of Corrections. They want that person to be more sensitive to the needs of the mentally ill in prison.
People that have psychiatric disabilities do not commit more violent crime than the main population. But say if one does, then they should be hospitalized in an institution. The other people whose crimes are minor should be in a treatment programs that deal with their impulsive behaviors and how they can control their impulses and whatever issues they need to discuss. So there are community programs that could fulfill that need, and that's what that really has to be done.
And even though a comprehensive approach to helping the mentally ill who end up in the criminal justice system must involve the police and the judicial system, the Corrections Department has a significant role to play. Again, Mary Doherty.
I think they have the opportunity to ensure that the services being offered within those jails are appropriate to the people in those jails. So currently, Prison Health Services is the private company in charge of providing mental health services and health services in Rikers. And we know from our experience and from what the records show that they're really not doing a good job of really providing those services for individuals. It's up to the Commissioner of Correction to say they're not doing a good job, we're not going to keep giving them contracts, we're going to ensure that the money we have is being best spent to serve the inmate population at Rikers.
Commissioner Horn will be stepping down July 31st. The mayor has not indicated who he's looking at to fill that position. For WBAI Evening News, I'm Christine Black.